Hello everyone, this is Caroline Young with my presentation on the buzz around the booze, and this is an intervention that I did on binge drinking trends amongst young adults. So first I just wanted to state what binge drinking was, and it is the practice of consuming alcohol in large quantities in a single session. This is usually defined as 5 drinks or more for each individual. And from one of my sources, I found that binge drinking, globally defined as the alternation between uncontrolled alcohol intake and abstinence periods, has become increasingly prominent during the past decade among young adults. Another fun fact was that 90% of the alcohol consumed by the youth under the age of 21 in the US is in the form of binge drinking. So then I wanted to look at through all of my articles found mostly from the UNCW database and the textbook for our class is why people do it in this age group so much. And the conclusion I came to through most of my sources was peer pressure. One of my sources stated that peer pressure has been shown to play the most major role in the development and continuation of alcohol use and misuse. Peer pressure is defined as the pressure to think or to behave along certain peer-prescribed guidelines. So the theory of the problem, interviews were conducted on 2 different young adults attending a university, and I chose to go with one interview, and so I asked, did you partake in drinking currently? How old are you? How many times a week do you drink within your social network? Do your friends encourage it? Where do you work or go to school? Do you hang out with your work or school friends often? In your community that you live in now, how many ABC stores do you have accessible around you? How far away is your nearest grocery store? Do you currently own your own fake ID if you are not 21? If you are 21, have you ever had your own fake ID to be able to partake in binge drinking activities? So what I've gathered from the interviews was that the individual currently lives in a community with multiple accesses to multiple ABC stores. She also agreed that she spends at least 3 days a week drinking within her social circle and is of the age of 21. She also says that she had a fake ID in the past, so she was able to partake in activities when she was not of age, so that she was not missing out within her social circle of what everybody was choosing to do with drinking. From the response, it is apparent that a lot of the binge drinking efforts of young adults comes mostly from social or peer pressure targeting binge drinking in the interview. I asked a question of, when she does drink at least 3 times a week, how many drinks does she normally have? Other questions recorded were, how many drinks do you have when you drink one night a week? And her answer was that it depends on the vibe if we're going to play drinking games, and I usually do not count. I also asked over a span of how many hours are you drinking on a particular night. She answered with at least 4 or 5. And how many drinks are you drinking each hour? Once again, she says she does not count. So from one of the articles I found, there was a study, and I found this from the UNCW database, and it was on the effects of college climate on binge drinking. So this was one of the first studies ever done to investigate the effect of college-level contextual factors on students' binge drinking. And it was done on students ages 18 to 28 years old, and they asked them how many times they drink a week, how many drinks, all the same questions that I used within my interview. The study grew from the finding that students exposed to heavy drinking college environments are more likely to engage in frequent binge drinking activities. So the predisposing factors are that young binge drinkers seem particularly at risk concerning alcohol's brain impact, as animal studies have shown that the adolescent brain is in a critical period of development and is particularly sensitive to alcohol. Also, that binge drinking, characterized by the rapid alternation of intoxication, will lead to multiple withdrawals that are particularly deleterious for the brain. Therefore, young binge drinking in your young adult life can lead to creating growth problems further down the road and put a strain on your growth to therefore miss major growth spurts of your life needed. So, the theory I chose to go with my intervention is the social cognitive theory, which is the individual experiences, actions of others, and environmental factors on an individual's health behaviors. I thought this fell in line with my topic because it looks at closely how these people behave in their environments and what they are affected by constantly and why they choose to do the things that they choose to do. So, the three categories of the social cognitive theory are the personal cognitive factors, the socioeconomic factors, and the behavioral factors. To sum that up, we do a lot of things in our life because of other people's influences or our environmental surroundings, as I stated. Therefore, I picked this age group to focus on for my project because at college or universities, you are influenced heavily by your peers to participate in whatever it is that they are doing. The four constructs of the social cognitive theory I used in my intervention and focused on were self-efficacy, normative beliefs, behavioral skills, and knowledge. So, after doing multiple researches on what kind of interventions were given for this topic and just looking at the different things people have done, I came to the conclusion that most of the time, motivational interviewing with feedback given is one of the most successful ways to conduct an intervention. So that's what I'm picking to do my intervention. For self-efficacy, I will increase their self-efficacy by enhancing their beliefs on what they're capable of doing. We'll start by using coping strategies, which will be a 45-minute session, providing the opportunity to create your own personalized feedback profile, which will help motivate them to get back into the hobbies they were used to doing before they started to engage in activities that their social networks were doing in the college setting or the young adult setting, which was binge drinking. For the normative beliefs construct, for the social cognitive theory and my intervention, the students will be given a questionnaire in which they're to fill out numerous questions on binge drinking around their college campuses, like how much they think they drink compared to other students on campus. And overall, the trend of that will show that they really are not as aware as how much they are choosing to partake in binge drinking because of their peers on their social campus. For behavioral skills, here participants will complete surveys and questionnaires on their capability to show that they're much more in control of themselves than they think that they are, and that it is not as much about their social environment that is what is making them choose to partake in the activities of binge drinking. Finally, for the last construct, I chose knowledge, and this will be provided in this intervention by holding seminars and TED Talks, making students aware of the dangers of binge drinking with the facts to prove it. And I really like the article I talked about found on the effects of binge drinking on the cerebral cortex and how a lot of it puts you behind in your growth as a young adult. So all of those facts will be administered as well. And then the resources will be implemented, and there will be options for those who believe that they may be struggling with this certain aspect of their life. These are my resources I used for my presentation. Thank you guys for listening.